Hey here. What's up? So I just woke up and it's time to start doing stuff. But I'm still kind of tired, so we do stuff like slow. But it's still good to be awake. Sandman seems to be finished. It's hard to believe. The Sandman is finished, and feeling pretty good about that. I'm feeling pretty good about that. I guess today the plan would be to pick up the pieces. We're gonna just do some computer stuff, kind of like build some stuff, make the room nice, just get fixed up a little bit, and think about what the next steps are. I guess I gotta practice. Ugh. Yeah, no, I gotta practice. But I definitely want to start planning for it, the next projects and writing cool shit. That's the plan. So write more cool shit. I want to write more cool shit. That's the plan. That's the plan.
Think about a dog, okay? What kind of dog is it? Golden Retriever. Golden Retriever, okay. So as you think about the Golden Retriever, like what other things come to mind about the Golden Retriever?
It's got a little neckerchief on.
Okay.
Red neckerchief.
Right, red neckerchief. Like what else about Golden Retriever?
Fluffy.
Fluffy, I see. So there's a tactile thing. Okay. Anything else about Golden Retrievers? This is very specific to you.
Bouncing up and down, rolling on its back. It smells a little bit, but I like it.
Great. Okay. So there's that. I like it. You like this. Okay. So Jenny Groves and others' data point to the fact that thoughts basically start with some seed element, some noun, some pronoun, some thing, some event, and then what the brain does is it essentially starts to call on more and more sensations and starts layering those in, more and more prior sensory events. It's red handkerchief. Okay, it's fluffy. There's a tactile, and that thoughts really are the layering on ability to think. Well, the ability to think is constrained by the number of different senses I'm trying to place on a bunch of different things. And so that's how we navigate through environments, which is what Jenny Grove's main work is about, how you find yourself in space. I can't look at everything in this garage. I have to focus on certain things, find the Phillips head screwdriver, go over there, and you're discarding all the other information. Now, when you think about sitting down to do work or to learn something, prepare a podcast, it is so important that you limit the number of sensory inputs coming in, not just during the event, but before. Because the attention, your brain is still working with the sensory inputs from before. It's not thinking about them consciously. So this is vitally important. If you go back and you look at the history of attention and thinking, and I have, you can find these incredible pictures that they would give kids who probably had ADHD, or just kind of rambunctious boys in most cases. They literally put them helmets with two eyeballs so they couldn't look at anything else. Like hear anyone else, right? Used to be, kid with the hoodie on and the cap, and you'd write. Now, what have we done? The challenge is that we brought.
What is it, bro? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
We brought all the sensory inputs through the device that you're holding.
So the narrowing of your perspective hasn't helped you to narrow the distractions.
That's right. Cognitive space is still infinite, even though the spatial limitation of where you're placing your attention is very restricted. It's a very interesting experiment of having kids stare literally at a focal point on the wall for a number of minutes before beginning their work. But one thing that I've been doing before I prepare to do any writing, any podcasting, any work is I try and make myself as bored as possible. I try and remove as much sensory input as possible. I might think about my breathing because it's hard to not think about anything, but I really have started to limit the amount of sensory information coming into my space. I have an entire floor where I live. I live in kind of an odd structure now, but the entire bottom floor is a no phone zone. Once or twice I brought my phone down. It's a no phone zone. I'm going down the stairs, there's no phones in there. I'm trying to figure out how I can have no internet there. I have this little tent sauna that I use now with incandescent lights.
The tent sauna.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I think this sauna space is incredible. I like it.
Put a sauna on the balcony.
Yeah, I go in there. It's it's grounded and there's no Wi-Fi. The phone goes dead the moment you go in there.
You're doing a mini Faraday cage.
Yeah, and I don't like bringing the phone into the sauna.
You use same place that I went to, or is this new one?
No, so I actually converted a art gallery into a living space. I've always wanted to do this. So now I have it's not the same space. I have my gym. I've got an upstairs loft where I live, and then the downstairs is a workspace. I an octopus in it. I have a tank with an octopus in it, although it's a bit shy, so I'm probably
You're
going to...
becoming increasingly ethical.
Anyway, and I have my distance fish and my gym and my doing all the illustrations for my books. I spend a lot of time drawing down in the basement. And I mean, I've always wanted to do this at some point. I was like, yeah, you have to live in an art gallery at some point if you're able. Okay, so that's my unique kind of weird space, but it doesn't matter if you're in an empty box. If you are not good at clearing the slate before you try and focus,
It's so interesting because it's true.
To understand more reasons. In fact, I'm amazed that anyone can think at all. I'm amazed that anyone can focus at all. I don't believe everyone has ADHD. I think we've just not understood what thoughts are built up from. And once you understand, you go, oh yeah, it makes perfect sense. Am I supposed to walk around with my eyes closed, not taking any sensory input? No. But am I supposed to take in an infinite number of novel items through this device? In fact, Mike Easter, the author of The Comfort Crisis, told me something super scary when he came on the podcast. He said that the person who developed these algorithms, the people, who developed the algorithms for social media, borrowed heavily from the casinos. And I didn't realize that some years ago, slot machines were a small fraction of the total casino income, maybe like 10-20%. Now it's 80%.
God.
And it was one guy who watched his kid playing video games who realized that the kids would play video games for hours and hours and hours, and what they were playing for was novelty. And Sonic, you can get a near infinite number of combinations of novel items, and people will play while losing for novelty and think they're winning. The brain is tricked into thinking that it's winning.
Wow.
And so, at some level, like I love social media, teach on social media, I partake in it as a consumer and a creator there, but I think we need to really scruff ourselves and go, okay, I need to read this book. I need to write this chapter. I need to do this drawing. And you'll notice once you drop into that trench, the brain has these attractor states, like a ball bearing on a flat surface. As you get more into a thought trench or activity trench, it's like that ball bearing drops into what's essentially a deep valley. And it's actually hard to leave. You'll notice you're walking out, and unless you pick up your phone,
Oh, they're over
you're
here.
thinking about that.
Oh, okay.
And this is how the brain works. The brain is not working in step functions. The brain, none of us are supposed to do the same thing all day long. And none of us are supposed to be able to think thoughts, going from more to sensory input to deeper and deeper. And then work for about 90 minutes or a couple of hours. And then give yourself a little bit of time to pause, reflect. It doesn't mean you can't have a conversation, but people are texting on the phone. It's unbelievable what we've done to hamstring ourselves against being able to think. The good news is, as Goggins would say, nowadays it's very easy to be spectacularly good in pretty much any field. You just have to do what no one else is doing. Now, he's an extreme case, and I have immense admiration for David. I mean, he's so David, but if you want to be the best in your class at anything, best in your class at pretty much anything, it's become so much easier now. You just have to not constantly be projecting things out to paying attention to.
Before we continue, if you're sleepy enough, taking ages to fall asleep, waking up at random times, or feeling groggy in the morning, well, what really didn't I live?
There you come.
Yeah.
The bar has never been set so low.
It's so sad, and yet it's an exciting opportunity for people.
Dude, I get it. Like the rampant fragility, people not being able to focus or deal with a little bit of discomfort and resilience is not great.
But
from a selfish perspective, that widespread fragility is your competitive advantage. And if you're one of the people, you're not going to be able to change the world. Certainly not before you've changed yourself. And that means that the first step is, this is an opportunity for me. I can step into it. So you mentioned you sort of touched on some of the bad habits that distract people. I've always been interested in this from a neuroscientific perspective. Is it truly possible to deprogram bad habits? Or once those neural pathways are down, is that locked in for life? Or are you just creating deeper fissures somewhere else? In order to replace those ones? How do you think about
You're standing
rid of
with
bad
the
habits,
front.
the process of overcoming those?
Yeah, I think
this isn't
when you look at the
attached.
data on
That's
neuroplasticity, it's much easier to
the two
reactivate
dots
a
are
pathway
up
that was
there.
laid down early in life, even if it's been suppressed. There's a beautiful data of a guy named Eric Knudsen, who was actually my next door neighbor in my lab before he retired. Stanford showing that if once learning takes place, those maps are forever there. You can unveil those masks again later. They kind of like never forget to ride a bike kind of thing. But when you're talking about bad habits, and then you get into sort of contingencies like rewards and punishments. These days, because of my own interests and trajectory, I think a lot about the seven deadly sins.
Can you give me the small one?
Right? I mean, if you look at any of the sins, they're all very hypothalamic in nature, right? And they're the extremes of hypothalamic function. In fact, you could probably map the seven deadly sins onto the hypothalamus and say that nucleus, the ventromedial hypothalamus, those neurons are responsible for rage, for unbridled rage. Okay, those neurons are responsible for unbridled sexual activity. I'm not talking about merged with violence, but independent of that. Those are consummatory behaviors. So eating, hyperphagia, is there anorexia? So I mean, all of this.
I have a question on that because envy is the only one of the seven deadly sins that doesn't feel good.
Yeah, so right, and I hadn't thought about that, but envy is probably not easily mapped to a hypothalamic nucleus.
Isn't that an interesting insight? Maybe it's the only one of the seven deadly sins that isn't something that can be enjoyable at low or high dose.
Yeah, our friend Paul Conti talks often about how much of the ills of the world are based on people's envy. When people don't have when they have an uncomfortable feeling,
Envy motivates all of
most people will turn that
Shakespeare's
into
tragedy.
self-destruction or destruction.
That's where tragedy comes
And
from.
people who are successful in life transmute those uncomfortable feelings into self-support and creating things and supporting others. Same feelings, divergent paths. And envy, Paul has said many times, is the enemy of all personal development, right? You see something, I always noticed, coming up in science, if something bad happens to somebody, we most of the time, unless we really dislike them, but even then, you kind of go, oh, that sucks, really feel bad. But if something good happens for somebody, you know immediately how you feel about that person. Are you happy for them? Or is there that feeling of like, yeah, exactly. You know immediately how you feel.
Great take. That's such a good litmus test. Yeah, how do you feel when this other person wins? When somebody else loses, I guess even with that, it's an interesting one. Like, is there a weird sense of satisfaction, or are you like, wish that person was okay, or whatever it might be? Okay, bad habits. Okay,
yeah, so with bad habits, I think about the sins and bad habits mapping to hypothalamic because I'm
Five.
perspective. But then you also think about the virtues, right? And overcoming bad habits or the virtues. I believe that most people are inherently good. I do. It may be true, it may be right, that we have all things inside of us, but I think most people are inherently good. I think there are a subset of people that, given the opportunity to do things and not get caught, they would do really bad things. But I don't think that's most people, okay? Or most dogs. I'd say, well, cats, I'm still on the fence about it. Sorry, cat people. I know some of the nice ones, but in all seriousness, I think that the bad habits that involve, breaking bad habits involves a lot of top-down control. Prefrontal cortex suppressing
negative behaviors. Exploitative.
And how do we know this? Well, if you want to summarize how prefrontal cortex works, you'd say it's the structure. It's the no, don't reach for that cookie. It's the no, don't say that thing. It's the don't do the thing that your hypothalamus. Don't do the thing. It's the don't do the thing that your hypothalamus and other structures are creating some internal activation of the autonomic nervous system. That kind of vibration of you want to do it. It smells so good. It tastes so good. You just want to. I don't know why I did it. This kind of thing. So that top-down control can be learned. And the beautiful thing, and this answers your question more directly, the beautiful thing is that at some point, that top-down control is not required anymore. Unless you do the thing you're not supposed to do, and then it requires top-down control again. Now, the reason I'm so interested these days, or one of the reasons I'm so interested in spirituality and notions of God, etc., is that the virtues also, I believe, can start to arrive through things that are outside of us. Now, I realize that sounds very unscientific, but if you look at the science around religious belief or belief in higher power, or the notion that humans don't have all the answers, not even the collective consciousness, what you'll find is that for everything from recovery from addiction to recovery from immense loss, the kinds of losses that can really beyond a death of a family member, although that's intense, death of all one's children, for instance, horrible things that people have been put through. almost without fail, moving through that with any
all the
kind
way.
of sense of self-preservation and not engaging in just self-destruction, which is what most people do, almost always involves some notion of
Now we're back to ore.
outside, right?
What is
Feeling as if something
ore?
is coming through oneself. Now we often hear about this in the creative process. People like Rick Rubin, and I'm a big Twyla Tharp fan, the choreographer, will talk about, most creatives will talk about sort of downloading things from outside of them. It kind of moves through them as opposed to arising purely within them because of all that sensory experience.
Eight guy
rates of death in childbirth went down.
needs to go.
So I read this article about the Cassandra complex. You know the Cassandra complex?
Just has this like warning
I don't know
on it.
anyone named Cassandra.
Well, let me allow me to teach you about the Cassandra complex.
These have to like go into the wood.
You correctly predict a future catastrophe, trend, opportunity for growth,
Everywhere?
important area of focus, only to
Oh,
be
there's
castigated
some of
by how
them.
short-sighted, xenophobic, judgmental, out of touch,
These are the ones
left-wing,
that go in the
right-wing,
wood.
or alarmist you are. The Cassandra complex is when someone accurately predicts a negative future event or truth, but no one believes them, and they're often dismissed, ignored, or even ridiculed. It's named after Cassandra.
I played Cassandra.
God Apollo gave her the gift of prophecy, but after she rejected his advances, he cursed her so that no one would ever believe her warnings. She foresaw the fall of Troy, warned everyone, and was met with scorn. The city burned anyway. Rachel Carson, in her book 1962,
Yeah,
Silent
this
Spring,
needs to
warned about the
actually
environmental
drill
damage caused by
into the-
pesticides. She was mocked by chemical companies and even some scientists, but her work eventually led to the environmental movement and the banning of
Do
DDT.
the
Ignaz Semmelweis in the
That one is,
1840s
these are
realized that
regular
doctors
holes.
were transmitting
Regular
childbed
holes
fever
first.
from autopsies to mothers by not washing their
Well,
hands.
it's the
He
same.
begged his
Are
colleagues
they
to
all the
adopt hand
same?
It's a
washing.
different
They laughed at
thing.
him. He died in an
Are those
asylum.
different?
Or
Decades
this
later,
one,
German
these
beer
two,
improved the
these
product.
three. Yeah, these are.
I'm gonna give you this. I'm gonna the best example of the Cassandra complex.
But it
I
says-
fucking love is
it says
the
the same one in all the holes.
Okay, well then just that's it.
We have to drill into the metal.
Well, this has a pre-hole thing.
Market castigated.
Yeah, like some of them
on
have
one
the
side,
pre-holes,
which
but
is,
it's like,
incentive for someone to not
can't really just
speak
like
up
grind
if they
into
feel like
the
they are
metal.
telling the truth, but that the
can't
world
actually,
is not
like,
going to be
tighten
sufficiently
it.
receptive to it. And Copernicus and Galileo, like,
It's too
so
short.
great as an example of this. Copernicus in the early 1500s quietly proposed something radical. The Earth orbits the Sun. Humans, once the unmoving center of God's design, were now spinning through space on a planet among many. But Copernicus hesitated. He delayed publishing his heliocentric model for decades. His great work, De la Revolutionibus, came out only as he lay in his deathbed, likely to avoid the wrath of the church and academia. His truth was too disruptive.
We might need
So, most
the
of his
power
life
drill for
went
this.
unheard. Galileo, a century later, took that same Copernican spark and shouted it from the rooftops. He saw the moons of Jupiter, the phases of Venus, and the imperfections of the moon's surface, all evidence that the heavens were not as fixed or divine as taught. The church responded with fear. Galileo was dragged before the Inquisition, forced to recant under threat of torture, and sentenced to house arrest for the rest of his life. In retrospect, it is not surprising that Copernicus kept his mouth shut, given how Galileo was treated. This is a core truth of the Cassandra complex. Being right isn't enough, and being early can feel like being wrong.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, much lesser example than what you just described, but the lymphatic system was discovered many years earlier by a woman at NIH. At University of Maryland. A larger, more powerful scientific group tried to repeat the experiments, made a methodological flaw, couldn't repeat it. Everyone believed them.
They're like really weak.
Lymphatic system was there. Fortunately, she became an NIH program officer. She was somebody who has some degree of control over where funding gets directed and funded the work that later verified her findings. But it was purely by virtue of the fact that the power structure was arranged in a certain way. This happens a lot in science. I think you'd enjoy it interested. Everyone thinks of Darwin, natural selection. There was another guy, Alfred Russel Wallace, who essentially discovered all of it in parallel. That should have been elected to the Royal Academy.
This wood is so deep it'll get like squashed, but
Yeah.
Like Darwin.
I don't really see a way around
He's not in the club.
doing this.
And Darwin
Just want to make sure they're all
from what I understand, very conflicted.
the holes are kind of lining up.
Because of that rivalry that Darwin ended up pushing his study out, his work out, right? I think he had it, he sat on it for a while, he wanted to work on it more, he had a little bit of sort of individual uncertainty and insecurity about himself. The punch.
Yeah, because then we can actually like drill into the metal.
Wow.
I'm not gonna do that with my finger.
Most people don't even know who it is. I mean, because my dad's a physicist and because I grew up in science, I know a lot of these stories. I mean, I know the story of, we'll keep this intentionally vague. There's a very, very famous and accomplished physicist that probably should have won a Nobel Prize. But he made one error, which is that he stole the girlfriend of his graduate students, married her. That graduate student did reasonably well. It must be very uncomfortable to work in the lab where your girlfriend is now sleeping with your boss. He went on to marry a Swedish woman.
Wow.
Let's just say that guy that stole the girlfriend never won a Nobel Prize. The Swedish community is very close-knit, you know? So, I mean, the number of stories, I can tell you story after story after story like that, but I try and avoid those stories. Even though they're true, I'd much rather that stuff's very enticing.
This is on the back. We won't be seeing any of this, but
No.
We have a proclivity for that, but I think that there's so many stories of people making incredible discoveries. And so I always try to, if I mention a story like that, I like to balance it out and remind people that I do think that most scientists are well-intentioned. I do think most physicians are well-intentioned. I just had a guest on the podcast, David Fadenwell, who's a physician at UPenn and scientist, and you know, he was a football player, big dude, Jack. He's like 6'3", disease, which is a cancer-like disease of the lymphatic system. He's told that he's going to die. He basically was near dead, and then he decided to just start trying all these already approved prescription drugs that nobody thought had anything to do with Castleman's or cancer. It's completely not-for-profit, and his lab focuses on taking all the diseases.
Okay.
40,000 taking existing approved drugs.
there's 20 of these.
Yeah, there's three over here.
Forms of brain illness. They've saved people, adults, and children from cancer, breast cancer surgery that involves anesthetic have a 30% less chance of getting a.
Yeah, because this carries a lot of weight in the end. This whole thing.
Well, this is just the back part.
But I mean, it's holding it all.
Yeah, no, it's gonna
Shifting
keep
side
it from
to side.
shifting. Yeah.
As a partner member of that community, is that in hand for the things that people are struggling with. You know, so when I hear this stuff about low dose lithium, everyone's maybe paying that once a year for offsetting the potential pollution. By primary players causing dementia. When I hear this stuff, it's like
I love science.
Yeah, no, but well, that's another very common.
I loved hearing that all the elements
political
that to support the creation of life are in these meteorites that are fleeing around in the universe and randomly hitting planets, and that's why they think life came to Earth. Because of
is that a lot
Yeah, panspermia. They need that for the aliens.
how well you can
Because the aliens are gonna come and be like, "We made you guys."
muscle you're trying to target. So some people are obsessed
Coming soon.
Other people
Coming soon to a TV near you.
with just their biceps and forearms and anterior delts, like it's going.
Okay, so now we have to
And so a lot of it is about being able to
connect the top part to the bottom part.
Okay.
As you get better at training the neural component of contracting the muscles that you're trying to contract, you actually can get by with fewer sets because you're able to direct more intensity to those muscle groups. So over time, I found, I probably do somewhere between
Okay,
6 and 8
so-
sets of muscle groups. But with two, I can not slaughter the muscle, but I can get what
That's gonna be here.
I like training, so sometimes I'll do more. But yeah, Mentor was great. I signed up for this program. My mother was like 16 or 15 years old. And she was like, why is this grown man calling the house? Because back then you do like a phone consultation. And Mike didn't talk.
And that's gonna go down.
Like, listen, I mean, the only thing, you know, and he would say, he's like, and the number one thing is you don't want to listen to anyone else besides me. He told me, he said, most people in
Four little holes, honey.
Yes.
Morons. He said they're morons. He kept saying these people have the intelligence of a toad, and he would just like yell and yell, and then he'd recommend these
6 sales calls.
and then he'd recommend these Ayn Rand books, and then the only I had some sleep issues when I was in college because my dorm was really loud. You know the advice he gave me? This is so wild. I have a friend from college who's now a fertility doctor in LA, and he remembered this story. Mentor, this is terrible advice. He said, get a jug of white wine. And just have like half mug of white wine. If you wake up in the middle of the night, you'll fall back to sleep. First of all, it doesn't work at all.
Okay, so like hit and miss.
First of all,
Mike was an extreme guy, but he actually said, he says, stay away from anabolics, which I did. He said, enjoy learning to train hard. Enjoy your training hard. He said, even though he wasn't a fan of cardio, like get out and live life. And he said, and read really good books. And he gave me his book list, and
What a sick
I still follow the same. Yeah, Mike was amazing. And when he died, I heard later it was very sad. I mean, we've been touched a little bit because I was in Santa Barbara and he was down in LA at that time. Okay, so Mentor.
Protein, politicization,
yeah.
What's going on?
Traditional media is like,
I bet you were in Santa Barbara.
as an attempt to
Seems like a Santa Barbara kind of guy.
right? I mean, there are some decent journalists in traditional media, right? There are. I think that but they'll not just by quote unquote politicizing something, gives them something to say about it, right? 1 gram of protein per pound of lean or desired body mass is kind of the standard thing now. Some people a little less, some people a little bit more. Okay, fine. I think we all get that. That's the goal. If you get a little less, you're probably fine. If you get a little more, you're probably fine. If you get tons more, you're probably not fine. If you get tons less, you're probably not fine. Animal protein is clearly superior as a quality protein to calorie ratio, right? You eat an 8-ounce piece of steak, or you have to eat half a jar of peanut butter, which is not protein. It's a bunch of fat with a little bit of protein in it. Okay, so why do they politicize it? Well, because they're struggling. They're struggling big time in terms of how to generate revenues. I mean, people expect to get their news. 2 things have certainly happened. I believe Ezra Klein on this. That people are no longer digesting their news as their local news as much. It's more national level news and international level news. And look, putting your name in a title, or Rogan's name in a title, or is going to generate clicks. And saying great things about people. Generally doesn't get.
He's such a nice guy.
It doesn't. Yeah, I mean, listen. I've had a few nice articles written, and some of the health magazines will pull protocols and things, and I love it. And I would say things in the health section, and very often parrot what I've covered and other people have covered, and they do it differently. But
now it goes up.
What they're going to cover by looking at the various health podcasts. Peter's said Peter was just on to so
yeah, I texted him about it, and he said,
Okay.
Nice to see traditional media not accusing me of something unspeakable for once.
Yeah, I mean, they seem to focus too much on like how much he charges his clients and this kind of thing.
You can take a coffee break.
Yes.
That was
This is the last step.
Okay.
Interview, despite the fact that there is some fuckery going on.
It's
there.
not.
It just goes to,
There's a lot of screws over there.
Yeah, we're pretty close.
They've lost power. To some degree, there's still some.
Yeah, now we can take a break.
Okay. Where are these supposed to go? We're going to hang cups, maybe?
Yeah,
On the picture?
this thing.
Is it here? Because the cutting board ones were on the side, over here. Yeah, we should look at the photo in the Amazon.
It's a joke. Actually, I was very gentle. Anyway, right before you put the patient to sleep, you start telling them your theory of consciousness. Wait, what? No, I tell them jokes actually. This is gonna burn your remains or melt in your brain, or a few other jokes that I can't do because they're not gonna remember. Hammer time, yeah.
Yeah, these are annoying because they won't, unless you pinch them, I guess they'll fall off all the time.
Oh,
You got a nice shaped head.
is that really gonna do something?
This is a heavy
At the
one.
end of the day, we sit around the table.
Very
That doesn't
realistic
seem
for.
very realistic.
And,
I don't know.
Yeah, you're not gonna use that because it's
Use
awkward.
these.
Where'd I put the screwdrivers?
And I held it for about 15, 20 seconds. I felt all over.
In my pocket.
And I didn't feel anything.
Your pocket. Yeah, I'm just curious about these because
It's like a metal handle.
if we like that, I don't know.
Yeah, possible.
I mean, it could store stupid things that are in bags, you know.
Yeah, maybe so.
Slightly high and thinking very well, thinking very clearly, and creative.
That.
And a little
Couple of coffee cups.
felt really good. So,
Our coffees are
They
big.
just have to not fall off of there.
I know.
We have more cups than that though.
Well, we have to wash it. We have to get more.
We gotta try this. We gotta do this on a paying basis.
I mean, yeah, you see we have more cups than
Order protocol,
we
double-blind
would
study.
want to comfortably hang right
Freeze them, so there's no beat, there's no ultrasound coming out of the device, but still, the machine's still making noise, the same noise. Yeah. So, we did a double-blind study, and
It's so cold. There's just no circulation.
there. Keep moving.
Ugh.
Almost as
Shoes on.
Here we go.
published.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
The first study on.
Just gorgeous. It's perfect. It goes with the counter.
And Jamie Tyler.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Who had done all this work for years on animals, and he got scooped on the first human. He emailed us, congratulations, you got the first one. She got all the patents. Is this published? Yeah, published 2013. I'll send it a link. And since then, there have been hundreds, not thousands of papers on brain ultrasound for this and that. Now, most neuroscientists took up and started using it as focused ultrasound because, TMS, transcranial magnetic stimulation, transcranial electrical stimulation, stimulate the brain, but you can't focus it.
We don't need to go anywhere right this second, do we?
TMS is kind of like all over.
Okay, should we, before I can leave you to rearrange, should we do this?
Oh, yeah, if you want to. Only if you want to, Marshall.
Yeah, I want to right now, and then I won't want to.
I know. Let's totally do it.
Let's
We have
just
a
do
mess
it.
back here.
Let's just do it.
20 kilohertz, which is still ultrasound, and that's also becoming beneficial.
Because it just needs to be like
I just don't like the
straight.
idea of it being right here all the time.
When you look out, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, we talked about it being here.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's good.
Hold it up. Well, this
Yeah, you
this
wanna-
code is ridiculous.
Like,
Yeah, it'll be.
And then a medium
It's
you
like big
open the
enough
brain
to-
barrier, let stuff in. And people were using that
I mean,
to give
the door's
anti-epileptic
open.
drugs. And they're really high intensity cause lesions. And people are now using ultrasound to cause lesions. Like if you have a tumor or a seizure focus, your focus 2 ultrasound means you
Just
zap that
gonna
whatever
go-
is there and get rid of it, which is what you want. So,
Don't worry.
everybody got into the focus business,
Yeah.
including a friend of mine, Jay
Just make it
Sanguinetti,
low
who
for
was
me. I
at
can
U of
read
A.
that. I have the one
And
up
he's
going
published a
up
whole
here.
bunch and formed his own
Yeah.
company now.
Like
They're making
It's
kind of
better
a
that
high-end
it's higher,
ultrasound to
because
induce
then
meditative
stuff comes
states.
down.
And
Would it be like a helmet you wear that like pumps ultrasound into your
they have a helmet, yeah. They have a helmet or band, and it's got sensors to read out EEG and then ultrasound to put it in.
You know,
And you can
I don't mind
target,
putting it on the floor
and then
of my
the
house.
patient gets an MRI, and you
Yeah,
want to target
that's where-
posterior cingulate or
That's where
frontal
yours will
cortex
be
or
and
whatever.
whatever.
And and then you need a stereotactic frame to target that area. So you're just hitting one area.
Because it's best
So,
that it's not
whereas the study I had
anywhere near
done,
my door where
the
stuff's gonna
first
hang
study was
from the
unfocused. So
doorway.
it's quite literally, it doesn't sound good to say it's shotgunning the brain, but basically it scans back and forth so you get the whole brain. And anyway, in 2015, these two guys in Australia were studying an anti-amyloid drug for Alzheimer's.
It's better.
And they used medium intensity. It didn't get across the blood-brain barrier very well. So they used ultrasound at medium intensity to open the blood-brain barrier, get the drug in. And they had a control group that got the ultrasound without the drug. And those animals got better from their Alzheimer's symptoms. So the ultrasound alone at medium dose improved the Alzheimer's symptoms without
Pencil
without
or
giving
a
the drug. And so they've now gone into just treating
I can get
Alzheimer's,
a
although it's
pencil.
this medium dose, which I don't think is necessary.
And
other
you should be
people-
low. It should be lower.
Yeah, you don't want the higher dose because it's going to heat, and you don't want to open the blood-brain barrier.
Yeah.
It's there for a reason. It lets
Right.
infections, other drugs. We don't really know what could get in, so it's there for a reason. And I didn't really want to.
That's fascinating.
Now that's focused ultrasound.
See, that makes me think about how technology is going and how that's affecting the evolution of humans, right? Like we're surrounded by screens, by these phones, by cell towers on every corner of every street, and like power lines are everywhere. I mean, I'm not an electromagnetist, so I don't know exactly how all this works, but I can't imagine that all this technology and all this electricity everywhere, the 5G, I don't know what the hell that is. I don't know what the hell that does. Bobby Kennedy says it passes through the blood-brain barrier, but I don't know anything about any of it. But I can't imagine that it's good for us. I can't imagine that it's increasing our cognitive abilities.
No, and in fact, the Havana syndrome, where they
Oh yeah.
So that was high intensity, either microwave or ultrasound.
Yeah.
And that kind of fries the brain and gives a lot of symptoms. And I think it's frying the microtubules because they're using the resonant frequency, whether it's ultrasound or microwave, they're resonating over resonating the microtubules, they're probably shattering them. And which is also what happens in concussion. In concussion, you fracture your microtubules.
Really?
Yeah, particularly in the long axons. If you look at them, they're like this. They're like your bone fracture. That's exactly what happens. So,
and that's how these people get like CT.
drill.
Exactly. And I wish they would try ultrasound, and I wish Alzheimer's people. And they said Helena Wabe was the researcher. She said, what we should really do first is just operationalize Sterling's study. Take what he's doing and get those people to sign consent forms to do what they're doing, and we record the data, and we'll, because we have all this information which we can use. So that's what we did. So we've had the study going for about a year now, but we did insist on the patients getting permission from their doctor, so we couldn't be accused of stealing patients. The doctors, probably reluctant. What's this crazy shit? So it's hard to get patients in, but we have enough patients. And we haven't cracked the code yet to see the results, but it seems like patients are doing well, and we've had no negative effects. So we want to do the next step and try
Like
this.
whatever though.
Either
You gotta make it your own now.
or larger scale studies. So I've actually been talking to my friend Sue Schneider at Florida Atlantic University, who's a
Right, so like you couldn't just say, if I want to access this memory, I know what page and what book to go to, or just type it into Google. Like you would have to have you would need to have a way greater capacity for memory back then, and even going back before the written word, right, when stuff was transmitted orally for decades, and what was going on there? How did people have that kind of memory? So I don't know. It makes me think like maybe parapsychology was there long ago, and now it's gone away, and it's been gone for so long we've forgotten about it, and now it just is in this woo-woo sort of.
The extras?
suppressed, probably.
Yeah.
Various.
Well, now I'm on the roll. I'm doing this shelf that I thought that looks really good in there with the little bed. The fuck? It's like very obviously wrong. The fuck? Okay, well that looks pretty good.
The weird sound.
It's like a little gap behind it. Okay, but there's a little shelf.
Cool. Oh my god, Carl, you're so heavy. Just heavy, huh?
She's just lounging.
She's just this like limp rag. This was all very exhausting for her.
Yeah, she worked real hard.
Just don't bang you in the ribs. Oh.
She worked real hard. Yeah, we need the putty. Okay, that's enough home improvement for one day.
Right?
I got my panels to put up. Just left my
There it is. This is the cool stuff. Just put that on your thumb and go. And then,
I'll use the thing to make it flat.
and then it dries. You have to fill the hole first. And then, yeah.
We got these guys for.
And you want to get up there and do those.
Yeah.
There's that right there for you to do that.
Jesus. Is that totally weird? Is it totally weird? There's a little shelf guy.
Yeah, when you put stuff in it. No, it's good.
Just have a little stuff on it.
Yeah,
Stuff that's like not heavy.
Not heavy. We all have the same issue. Stuff ends up on the floor.
Yeah, I keep putting stuff on the floor. Okay, well that's pretty good. What's up? What's up? Oh, man. I realize hasn't been a lot of like talking or personal things happening on these videos so far. It's been just hectic, not really in that mood. Building this hutch thing all day, that took a bunch of work. Just now feeling very, very tired and cooled off since the Sandman is finished, and it's going to get out there on the internet, and we're going to have to market it and push it and see what we can shake loose from this huge effort in the audio world. Well, it's time to think about promotion. We should probably think of that before, but it's hard when you're doing the project, when you're really like deep in the music, to be in that marketing mindset. It's a totally different like brain space. But I am excited to do that and get the thing out there and make it really happen. But fuck, now I'm tired, super tired. Understandable, I suppose. Just so much extreme focus. So looking forward to dropping that. Life just barrels forth. Got a bunch of shit coming up. That should be fun. Should be good stuff. But tired. I'm gonna need to just get some sleep. That's what's up. That's what's up with me. Well, let's get some sleep. Well, I gotta upload this first.